Martin with the first ever episode of the Real Raw Authentic podcast. And today we have Coach Baker in the building. How you doing?
Good, man. Glad to be here. Appreciate you.
Definitely. So, ones who doesn't know about the Real Raw Authentic podcast, I've been doing it for about 2-3 years. But I was like, you know what? We're going out a leap of faith and we're doing it on YouTube this time around. So, enough about me for right now. But as far as for you, Coach, where you from, man?
Man, all over.
I feel you.
If I was to take it all the way back, born and I wouldn't say raised, but born in Detroit, Michigan, or at least my baby years were there. Then family moved to Oklahoma. Right. I would consider Oklahoma where I'm from, Oklahoma City.
Stomping grounds.
Yeah, that's where I grew up and spent all of my youth growing up in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, until finished high school. Then in college, actually went to Oklahoma University.
Right.
Go OU, Boomer Sooner.
Yes, sir.
And then after school and everything, pretty much lived in Dallas, Texas for most of my adult life before moving to Arizona about 10 years ago.
What was the reason why you moved to Arizona?
Man, really, this was my wife's hometown. So we met in Dallas, Texas, and worked together and had our relationship and started our family actually in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
But she was always telling me about her hometown that she grew up in, just outside of Tucson. Right. And as our family was getting bigger and bigger, we wanted to be closer to family that could help and be around family and stuff like that. So man, we did it. Kind of like you said, you took a leap of faith and moving out here. We did the same thing, like I said, about 10 years ago. Came out here and been here ever since.
Because with me was, like I told you before, when I started podcasting, I started podcasting in 2020 when during COVID and everything like that, but I was still in school at the time. And what happened was I was like, let me do something different. Yeah. And then I recently started back out because my stomping grounds was Beaufort, South Carolina.
Right.
And it was a lot of people was doing a lot of things. You got entrepreneurship, you got YouTubers, you got rappers, you got singers, everything between.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, there's nobody that I know who's doing podcasting, and I like to talk. So I was like, why not? And then the main reason why I chose the podcasting route was because I want to build a platform by helping people get on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's cool.
My main question for you is, I recently did my research about Buzz Pro. So how did Buzz Pro Media went about? How did it all start?
I would have to go back a ways because I've always been a marketing, advertising person. That's what I went to school for. That's what I studied in college and that kind of stuff. And then, I worked with a marketing firm right out of school. Right. And I really just kind of liked what they do. I kind of like that that field and that expertise of marketing, advertising. Excuse me. I've always been a more of a psychological thinker. Yeah. And there's so many similarities in psychology and marketing. Once you go deep into it, that it just kind of always drew me to that. Now, I didn't think it was going to be something that I would make money doing or anything like that. So. Just like a lot of people that go to college and get their degree, usually you don't end up working in that same field. But I knew with marketing and with advertising that I could bring that into any business. Right. Every business has to have some type of marketing or advertising strategy and stuff like that. So I knew it was going to be something I liked and wanted to do. So I started working at just corporate America jobs and working my way up, trying to get to the next promotions. Right. And then once the opportunity for us to move here to Arizona, we knew that if we were gonna move and pretty much start over and leave we wanted to do something all our own. I wanted to have my own business and move forward like that. So, and I knew whatever business it is that I'm starting, I feel confident that we can be successful with it. Absolutely. Because of my background in marketing. And most people that have a background in marketing will tell you that, look, we can sell anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever the business is, we can market it, we can advertise it, and lead to success. So I felt that way about that. So once we came here, we've opened and still maintain quite a few small businesses in the area.
Right.
And marketing was just always something that we were able to be
You were
good
willing
at
to
and sell. And then I started doing it for other business friends of ours that they're business owners as well. So I started making commercial ads, doing social media management, and doing YouTube type videos and stuff like that. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I got a little bit more serious with it and like getting camera equipment, getting studio and microphone audio equipment. I started doing more research and educating myself on how to do certain things, and then it's been ongoing ever since. I kind of incorporate Buzz Pro Media into our charity nonprofit organization. So it's basically started from marketing and the kind of love for that, but then also most people that do photography and so it was mixed in with something that I like to do. Then my wife, she got on board with it and she liked to do it. We both have like a journalistic spirit.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how it started and where it's at.
I remember when you said when you mentioned college. Now, I'm a kid who just recently graduated high school just last year. And
youngster.
Yeah, man. But with me was like, I actually did thought about going to college. Was for entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And there was so many things like once when I got out of high school, I was like so into everything. I wanted to be a sports analyst. I wanted to be a journalist.
Right.
I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to be a music producer. Everything in between.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm already doing this. So let me just stick with it.
Yeah.
And then my parents, they was like, okay, well, if you don't want to do this, well, find something that you're really passionate in and just stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really got me going.
Yeah.
And then back in 2020, like I told you before, I started podcasting. Now, I'm gonna keep it on. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Okay.
It wasn't always a real authentic podcast.
Uh-huh.
At first, it was like Reese Thoughts, Peace of Mind, and then some people in school, I cultivated this nickname when people call me Reese's Pieces.
That makes sense. Okay.
You know, and it was like, "What's up, Reese's Pieces?" I was like, "That's not even my name."
Yeah. But Reese, I can see that.
Yeah.
Reese. Yeah.
I'm a fan of battle rap.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this rapper that was like, my rum authentic.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, okay, that sounds cool, because there was always names I played in my head. But with me, it was like, I want to have a platform where that I know that's something that's simple, that's something people can relate to.
Right.
Because a lot of people has different stories.
Yeah.
And my story is that where I come from, there's a lot of people who have that it's, you know, someone who's got it, like whether it's music or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I came from a hardworking family where it's like all you gotta do is just work for the things that you may need and want.
Yeah. So work or go to college, educate.
Right. And then when you said about college, I was like, I don't know if this college life is for me, because if I'm willing to dedicate 2 years of my life in something for like, you know, for a certification that I may or I may not get into the same field that I may want to be in,
right?
Then it's like, okay, I'm going to bet on myself.
Yeah.
And once I betted on myself, I felt like it was challenging at first.
Yeah.
You know, especially for like someone who just went out of school, just went straight to work and still doing this thing.
Right.
And for me personally, it was more on the spectrum of how can I reach this person but teach this person as well. Mm-hmm. So for me, at first, it wasn't really about the money aspect. It was more how many people I can touch. Mm-hmm. And that's the main thing with me, was like, if I can make a platform where it brings positivity, it brings like the original content that so many people wanted, without trying to be like this or be like that. Just be you, and that's all that matters.
Right.
So I want to ask you, would you say that college is for everybody in some cases?
Obvious answer is no. Obviously, college is not for everybody. That's just because nothing really is for everybody. I mean, air, water,
right,
stuff like that is for everybody.
The necessities.
Right, but I mean, I think education is for everybody.
Definitely.
College is one platform or one way to consume education.
Right.
But it's not the only way. And come from someone who's done it that way. And then I did a lot of online school too. So I went the traditional college route and got my degree. Then I've done it the online way as well. And then I compare that to the education that I've gotten outside of college,
right,
per se, like on the job training at different jobs that I've had, even as a teenager, and I would count that stuff as education.
Right.
I would count any type of work experience as education, business experience. I've been fortunate enough to start businesses that have been successful, but anybody can start a business, even if the business is not successful. In the terms of money or whatever, that's going to give you business experience, which is going to equate to education.
Right.
And depending on how you value things, like sometimes experience is more valuable than education. So college isn't always the best at providing experience. And even as far as education goes,
that's
a lot of colleges you have to learn one particular thing, like you were talking about, like, hey, find something you're passionate about and go forward with that. That would be my advice to anybody. If there's a certain college that teaches something that you really are passionate about, then go for that. But you also have to understand that there's going to give you about 80% of what you're going to be doing is not going to be that particular thing. You're going to get that 20% of that particular subject that you're passionate about.
Right.
The other 80% of the college experience is a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
That's not that. Not to say it's wrong or right. It's just what it is. And if you're somebody that's targeted in what you want, I think there's more efficient ways to find that specific thing that you want to do.
Right.
That specific thing that you like, that you know you need to educate yourself more on, to be an expert at that, to reach a level of excellence at it.
Right.
To be profitable at it or make a career out of it, you need to be really, really good at whatever it is. And usually how to get good at something is to practice, educate, learn.
Sometimes you gotta fail sometimes too.
What's that?
Sometimes you gotta fail sometimes too,
Yeah, but failing is a part of the learning process. I mean, yeah, of course. So I'm just saying, like, obviously college is not for everybody. Education is. Because no matter what, like you were saying that some people just have that it factor. Right? I see it in sports, me being a basketball coach, but you can see it in everything. Even in entertainment, YouTube influencers, social media influencers, not everybody can do it. Because not everybody has that it. Not everybody is influential like that. Not everybody has that type of charisma. Not everybody has basketball talent. Not everybody even has the charisma to have a podcast and keep a podcast entertaining and keep that going. So, but once you have that it factor, you can't just think that that's going to be good enough for you to do. You know what I mean? You have to. You want to get better. You want to get reach a level where you feel like you've perfected your craft. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is educate yourself and find ways to do that. It doesn't necessarily have to be college, but education in some type of way, yeah.
Definitely. I'm starting a business. So around this year, before I moved down to Arizona, I had my own clothing brand, which is like the Real Authentic Clothing. So I'm going to be up front. So I started drop shipping. I know we talked about this beforehand, but we did. I started drop shipping my clothing brand. So I was like, let me try to branch out. And my main thing was like, maybe I started out a little too early, or maybe I didn't market it enough, or maybe I didn't do this right.
Right.
And so what happened was when I started drop shipping, some people, everybody got their own opinion, but what that did, it taught me a lot about not just business. But it also taught me how to also marketing. And I feel like with marketing, I feel like I haven't did a good enough job.
Well,
but, and then I ended up selling out, a couple of stuff like bucket hats. And then that following year, which was in 2022, this year actually, I went you know, I did it. I took classes. I took like clothing brand classes, and then my family there was like, well, why are you wasting money on this and doing that? When you get a press machine, doing this. First of all, a press machine is like $250 up to $400. Getting blanks for T-shirts that sometimes go up to $100 to $200 too, and shipping labels, press machines, like I said before, packaging, marketing, getting models, photography, marketing, everything in between. So I was like, for me, it's like, okay, I know for a fact it's not gonna work out because you mean to me that I have to spend up to $700. Right. I'm not even in the ball game. I'm not even in the ball game yet.
Right.
So what I did was like, you know, I'm going to learn from someone who actually done it. You know.
Right.
And that's what some people didn't learn. Like for me, I dropped like $50 on the course, and I will show you too, like all the notes that I have. Like I kid you not, it was just like 20 pages worth of notes.
Yeah.
Over, I want to say a month, actually 2 months of notes every single day.
Yeah, man, that's the way to do it.
And then what happened was that I did it again with the business. Like I went through Shopify. I went through everything. I even went through this, like, going through it with manufacturers and saying there was a delay and saying that the products with this and the third. I ended up selling 3 tracksuits. And this was a span of like 2 months, actually no, 3 months worth of time putting into it, because the marketing, the photography, shout out to PFK by the way. But yeah, now with PFK, he did my photo shoots. It went crispy. It was awesome. The marketing went crazy, and but yeah, I wound up selling 3 tracksuits for my clothing brand, and I did pre-orders. That's what I did during the time. And so what happened with that was I went ahead and I used what I had made from the website and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I used it
to
buy the clothing. Now here's what happened though. That I think I messed up part of was about like some manufacturers and their policies and the sizes differences and everything between. So yes, yes, 3 is a very small number. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. No, nobody's perfect. But like you said, it's just about trial and error.
Yeah, you might feel like that's a whole lot of work to sell 3 units of something, but
I saw like 3 tracksuits. But I get what you're saying.
Right. What I'm saying, like, it might seem like that and feel like that, but most of most of the work that goes into starting a business and all that work and even money and time and all that stuff that goes into, so much of that goes early on before you even get one customer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So at getting one customer shows that you did a lot already.
Right.
That's what business people would see. A lot of people think of things like in terms of success or failure.
Right.
So success is what? Like, okay, I got a good business and I'm making good money and I'm selling XYZ of whatever my product or my service is.
Right.
And failure would be, I'm losing money, I'm not selling anything, we need to close down, and that's that. And there's really no in-between in that. It's like people feel like you're either in success or fail and give up and over. And I think like social media has gotten people feeling like not really seeing the reality that success looks average to most people. Because what success is, the highest levels of success, okay, of course, what you see on TV, LeBron James is the highest level of basketball success, right? Anybody in the NBA.
Shoot, Curry too, that too.
Anybody in the NBA, anybody, if you're on the bench on the NBA, you're at the highest level of success. You have a multi-million-dollar contract. But does that mean that anybody that doesn't make the NBA is unsuccessful in basketball?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
The NBA has about 300 and something people.
I think like 4 or 5.
Almost 4. It has like 370 something people.
But if you think about it, that's a percentage though. That's like the percentage of the whole country. It's crazy.
Right. Right. So you're talking about over 300 people, maybe 400 people play professional sports, but there's millions of people that play this game, that love this game. And to be able to get to play at a high level in high school, you could win a state championship, you can break records.
That's true.
These things are successful. You could go on to college and either go to a junior college or maybe even a big college and tuition paid for. These are things would be considered successful. But because we live in an age where success is measured by
highlight reels,
fancy cars, big cribs, millions of followers, blue verified checks. That's how we are gauging success instead of knowing that the reality of success is being able to do what you want to do.
Right.
Being able to do what you want to do, bro. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't make $1 million, but if you are able to, hey, man, I got my clothing brand, I got my podcast, or I got my music, and I do that enough to where even it might look like, hey, I'm living an average life.
Right.
Because I don't got this, or I'm not on social media with all the glamour and glitz. But guess what? I'm not in failure. I'm not closing down. I'm not.
Right.
I'm still able to do what I want to do. To me, that's really what more success is. And I've heard a lot of even wealthy people. There's this guy. I think it was Grant Cardone that said it first. I know other people have said it too, but Gary Vee says this too. They were talking about why they pursue money and why they wanted to be rich, or why he wanted to be rich. And it was like, it's not because I wanted to have this or have that, talking about houses and cars
like
and have
all
these things, have this lifestyle. That stuff is great, but I wanted to be rich so I can do whatever I want. I wanted to be rich so I have freedom.
So financial freedom.
Freedom is really more valuable than anything that you can attain. Like the freedom to purchase those things if that's what you want. Or the freedom to just have choices and have options. Like, you don't necessarily, that's how the quote actually was said. It was like, I didn't want things, I just want options. Life is better when you have options.
Right.
I'm sure you got people from, I know you, in the town you're from in South Carolina, you've probably been around people that don't really feel like they have options.
That is true.
When you don't feel like you have options, you don't really end up doing much with your life.
Right.
And maybe you don't, and some people in some places don't have options. Yeah. Or at least they're in situations where those options aren't good. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen people and heard people even in music say, my options were sell crack, or play basketball, or do this or do that. Like, if you honestly feel like those are your options, then you're not in a good spot,
not a good
position.
environment. And I'm glad you say that and you mentioned that. Because where I come from is the fact that there's a lot of people that doesn't have really the options that some people's lives is. Like how, I guess, because for me, I can say this. I didn't have everything, no, I didn't. I had both working parents.
Right.
My mom and dad was working at the time.
Right.
And, me and my brother and sister, we had, we wanted shoes, clothes, the whole nine.
Right.
But I didn't really let it faze me, though, because I know for a fact that in this life, you got to take it how you want to get it. And so for me, what I had to learn, even as one of the oldest, was the fact that I need to set the example. I need to set the tone.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But that's how I see it. And how I view success is, if I know for a fact that I can make a living off of doing the things that I love to do and helping people along the way as well, I think I'm doing my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, it's about options. So how I view it is like, okay, you know how some people in high school or even in school be like, what you want to be when you grow up? My mom and my dad asked me that, and I just told them that I just want to be happy and doing the things that I love to do, but at the same time knowing for a fact that I can eat off of this. I can sleep peaceful knowing for a fact that I'm doing this. Without hurting nobody, without selling no dope on the street corner.
Right.
And you probably experienced this too in your adolescent years, because I'm just 19 and you already well established.
Yeah.
So how I look at things is like when I grew up, some people did the things they're not proud of. Some people did the things that they wish they could have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, some of my own family is in jail. Some of my friends wound up dead.
Yeah.
Over just petty stuff.
Right.
And that's what my reality was.
Right.
Was seeing how the street life do to people. And when I see that, it's like, okay, I need to find a way I can make something shake.
Right.
And that's what I ended up doing the podcast for, because so many people doesn't have the platform. Even though that I have a small platform, but a platform is better than no platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did interviews with like Rock Like Davion. He's a rapper and fellow entrepreneur. I did an interview with like Scooty Wild, one of the rising Christian rappers that we have today.
Yeah.
I did an interview with, it was so many people. Jayon Allen, D1 recruit.
Yeah.
One of the best in the nation.
Yeah.
And one of the most sought out athletes in the South.
Yeah.
So for me, how I look at it is like, it's not always about the money.
Yeah.
But if I can maybe at least give a person a thought or a mind or even the insight of like saying like, hey, I can do this too.
Yeah.
And for me, personally, I didn't went to college.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't went to the military route. I almost signed up. I didn't. And sometimes what I feel like with this, and this is for me too, is the fact that some of us younger people, most of us younger people, is not willing to take in the hard work that goes with what they want to do. And like
that part.
And you know the thing is too, is like with me, I think with a lot of people though, it's just about consistency. And for me, with my podcast, is like I've been doing this, like I said, almost 3.5 years. And I'm 47 episodes deep as we speak. I actually stopped podcasting for a minute. I almost ended up quitting.
Mm-hmm.
It was not just because of what other people say. It was about that I feel like I'm in a turbulent situation. It's like a hamster wheel, where it's like nothing I do matters. But I got this one text message, and to this day, it still gives me goosebumps. They said that, bro, like, I needed this. I needed someone to say that. I needed someone to, like, just encourage me, motivate me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that did for me, even though it was only one person, that one person can change your whole mentality of what you're doing. Because if I was able to reach this one person and they was able to say those things to me that really rejuvenated me, how many more people that I haven't touched yet may feel the same way?
Right. Right.
So that's why I ended up staying consistent and still doing my thing. But I stopped podcasting. The reason why also was because I started out with my phone. This was all I had. You know, how I did podcasts and how I did interviews. And you don't really need like this $5,000 setup. You don't need you don't need this $20,000 worth of production. All you gotta do is just have the mind, have the mentality, have the right equipment for it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it had to be the glitz and the glamours. Yeah. But as long as you have what you may need, because it's like what we talked about before, is the fact that success comes with preparation. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And more than anything, you gotta have the drive to do it.
Right.
And the discipline to keep doing it. You know, being a business person and, you know, just being around, like, you're always going to have people that are, like, you're doing business with, whether collaborating or even just friends and stuff that see what you're doing and stuff that want to be in times where people do a little bit more talking than they do walking.
Do the walking, right.
Right? So there's definitely a lot of value in people that do the work more so than those that don't. Right. Right. And, you know, as we were talking about college, and I've brought this point up before where I've said, like, some places require a college degree because they want to know that you're the type of person that can finish something that's hard. finish something that not everybody's going to do. Because quite honestly, like, I say this jokingly but kind of serious. Like, I always joke with my family about, going to these, like, we got like kindergarten graduation, preschool graduation. There's a graduation from middle school.
Yep.
There's a graduation from elementary school. And I'm like, do we need to graduate stuff that everybody do? Like, I don't know nobody that dropped out in kindergarten or preschool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we celebrating something that everybody gets? I don't know anybody that dropped out of middle school. I'm sure it's happened before, so nobody's got to, like, fact check me.
Yeah, of course.
Or anything like that. But I'm just saying, come on. At this point, I'm like, even when you graduate high school, yes, I'm going to clap for you and all this. I'm not demeaning it, but have we gotten to the point where we celebrate mediocrity so much?
So, the thing
like,
is,
to me, that's mediocre. You graduated high school, big deal. To me, show me that you can graduate college. Again, do I think college is for everybody? No. But for those that do graduate college, you do look at them differently. You should. I'm not saying you should look at them differently, but you should acknowledge that person's discipline. Because that's what it takes to get that.
Too.
Dedication and stuff like that. Because a lot of people can talk, and a lot of people, and bless their hearts, because it's usually from a good place, when they're making the point about college not being for everybody, sometimes that's coming from a place of laziness in some people. That's coming from a place of, oh yeah, it's not for me. Well, shoot, like, the stuff that they're making you do in college really ain't for nobody. Nobody sits around and likes doing that.
Exactly.
It's just that some people are able to discipline themselves and see the big picture of the future of what's going to be once they get that education. Just like you said, you took the class, you paid for a class to learn about podcasting so that you can sharpen that skill because you knew education was important in that way. Right. Instead of just saying, I don't need that. That's not for me. I'm just gonna do this myself, right. And I'm the star. I have the talent, and that's all I need. And it takes discipline in doing that, and right. Especially that discipline gets tried when you're having to take classes and write paper after paper in a college course, or if you're starting a business, that discipline is going to get tested when there's failures. Or when things aren't looking good and maybe there's no money in it at first, or maybe people are doubting you and stuff like that. Like, that's when that discipline is going to be tested, because it's going to be easier to just be like, you know what, no, that didn't work, let me try something else.
Right.
Or let me go move on to this, or maybe that really wasn't a good idea.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that. And also the Arizona Prep Academy, talk to me about that. How did it all start?
Man, I would have to say AZ Prep Academy started as a part of our nonprofit organization. Me and my wife, I have to give her most of the credit. She's the MVP. I say it not just on this, but on all things.
Right.
She's the MVP. But so our nonprofit organization, Operation